to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I am MK,
And I'm Courtney.
and I did not warn you that I was talking.
You sure didn't, and I forgot because now when I start the recording first, I hear it, but then I don't hear it when you start the recording. So I was just like in my own world.
All right.
I'm here. I'm
How
here
are
with you.
you? How are you?
I don't remember what I was going to say because I panicked. Um, I'm okay. I'm fine. Um, I truly had something planned to say for this episode, and then
Yeah.
just panicked, and now I've forgotten what it was.
Oh, I'm
Um,
so sorry.
It's okay. What have I done this week? I've walked, I've worked out, I've concerted. We've talked
Yes.
about all of those
We've talked
things.
about all those things, yes.
It's October. It's
No.
Halloween.
Have you been doing, I meant to ask you this last week and it slipped my mind. Have you been doing 31 days of scary movies?
Bro, I haven't even been doing 31 days of staying alive. So like I have to pick my battles. And this year that was not a battle that I could fight.
That's
Like people keep
fair.
that's what we'll talk about. People keep asking me, this is what I was gonna talk about. What I'm participating in this year, it's
Yeah.
nothing. The answer is nothing.
Okay,
I
so
am not doing the 31 days of Halloween. I am not doing NaNoWriMo. I am not doing
okay,
any advent calendars.
another
I
question.
am,
Another
yes.
question. I saw a video on TikTok that said we're not allowed to call it NaNoWriMo anymore. That's like a
So
negative thing.
here's the thing.
Okay.
It's yes. But the organization is still NaNoWriMo.
Okay.
However, most people that have been associated with it are stepping away because I only vaguely know what happened because I only vaguely looked it up because I was very busy. This
Yeah.
was last November when I was falling apart as a person.
Right.
What's new? So they had one of their what are they called? Basically moderators of the group, but they have a name. And they moderate regions. And so you have your like 3 to 5 people that moderate that region. You lead all the meetings, you lead all the like writing sessions, all this. One of them was doing inappropriate things, I think, with both of age and underage people. And
Ooh,
there was not a lot of recourse against them.
got it.
So while the organization still exists, the event still exists, they are just most of the time now being separated. So like my New York chapter, which is the one I would still write with if I was writing,
Right.
they have created a new Discord and they're calling it something generic.
Okay.
I don't remember what it is. And so like it's still an event. They're still doing the same things. They're still doing
Okay.
the timed writing,
That's
but
what,
they
because
are
I was,
separating themselves from the organization.
yeah, because basically somebody was saying that like we should all still write in November,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, oh
Yeah.
no, oh no,
Yeah.
what happened?
So, but yeah, so not doing anything, cannot handle it, will die. That is just how it is for my life. So,
Yeah.
for the next, who's to say? Until I say otherwise, do not ask me if I'm participating
Valid.
in lengthy events because not you, you can ask whatever you want.
Yeah.
But the general public, just know
But you're not.
the answer is no.
That's
Yeah.
fair.
Um,
Okay.
because
Which I totally get because this entire year is already over for me. It's a wash.
right,
Holidays,
no, it's done.
it's
Yeah.
done.
Mhm.
I'm January 16th is when
Right.
my next thought
Sure.
occurs.
Mhm.
And Dan was like, blah, 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 asking about like Christmas decorations. And I go, I'm not decorating for Christmas this year. No, I have so much time to figure this out because I am not doing it this year. I don't care that we have a house. I don't.
Yeah. Like I want those things. But I want those things at Rachel's house and I am planning to get my own apartment and I still will not be doing that at my apartment. I would like to still come back and just decorate her house and then leave.
Correct.
I would like it
Yeah.
to be a day. I don't mind days. I don't mind activities.
Yeah.
Not here for events, not here for lengthy events.
No.
I'm also past your wedding.
Yeah.
In my thought process as well. My dad called me yesterday and he was like, where are you going to be at New Year's? Are you going to be here? Are you going to be in New York? Are you going to be in New Orleans? And I was like, Dad, I don't even know what day it is. I was like, if I had to guess, I will be in New Orleans because that is how that works. Rachel is doing probably an annual party. If not, some of the other friend group is doing a party. I have already requested hot tub access
Yeah.
for said time. I will probably be here regardless of what's happening in the world. Um,
And
I was like,
then
but I cannot be for certain.
well, but here's the thing, you'll do your party, and then once you guys are
Like
done with your
jump on a
hangover,
plane while I start
You
drinking.
and
Yeah.
Rachel and Nick will all.
Yeah.
I was like, it'll be
Well,
great. You and Rachel and Nick and Jamie and Caitlin can all drive together. And then I was like, that would be a terrible idea. It would be a very uncomfortable car ride.
I cannot be certain if you will have the entire crew you'd like.
No,
I
I
can
also,
be certain that me and Rachel will make it there.
yeah,
I also cannot be certain of what day. Jamie is also trying to ship Caitlin there.
yeah,
So we are working on it. She just does have two
children,
babies, one of
two
them pretty
babies.
fresh.
Yeah,
Um,
pretty.
so you know, who's to say?
I'm very aware that the Caitlin and Jamie are dependent on childcare, and
Right,
that if I get one of them, it will not be all
right,
of both like the family. I
sure.
was already prepared for.
Yeah. We were talking about that at Caitlin's baby shower
Yeah.
before when we had lunch, me and Jamie, and he was like, I really like, I know she really wants to go. I really want her to go. And like, he was like, I really want to go too, but I don't think we can both go. And I was like,
Yeah.
totally fair. I
Well,
was like,
and
I'll
that's
be
why I was like,
there.
I was so excited because I was like, well, if it's just when it was just one, I was like, it'll be great. And then when she was like, I'm pregnant, and I was like, I'm so happy because I know how hard you guys have been trying.
Mhm.
Also, I don't think you're gonna make it to the wedding
Yeah,
anymore.
Rachel could probably make it because she has a very flexible
Much more.
job.
Nick's job
Nick
is
is starting
less.
his, yeah, he's now on his like new track, so I don't know if
Yeah.
he'll make it. I'll be there. It depends. I don't know what day because as we all know, everything sucks. I'm trying to get trying to get a like job with health benefits. Because God knows that my non-existent health benefits are not cutting it. And so if I have a job, I don't know that they'll let me off the whole week. Which was my anticipation was literally I was going to do, I don't even know what day of the week New Year's is. Is it like a Monday?
Well, the
It
fourth
feels
is
like a
a
Monday.
Saturday. The fourth is a
The
Saturday.
fourth.
So is a Saturday.
So
Yeah.
no.
No.
So I was, oh well, that's kind of where I was gonna fly out anyways, because I was gonna probably fly out that Thursday, but if I have a
Yeah.
job and they don't let me fly out till Friday, that's what it is. Um, but I was either gonna fly out like Wednesday night or Thursday morning was my plan.
Yeah.
So I'll be there. That is all of the information I have for you
That's
at this moment, is that I will be there.
great.
Um, but yeah, so I'm canceling life. And I'm annoyed, and that's what I was going to talk about anyways,
Yeah.
was all of that and how annoyed I am with jobs. I'm overqualified for everything, but also underqualified for everything. So no one will pay me a livable wage, and no one will offer me a job that is under my qualifications, even though everyone's got to pay bills, and I
Yeah.
was paid half of what I should have been paid in the last job I had anyway. So
Yeah.
just another reason my last job screwed me over. Can't wait to keep going through this life the way I am. So, how are you?
I you know, I'm all right. I'm also struggling with money and time and everything. I really truly do not know why we bought a house.
Well, to be married and have a house to live in.
Yeah, there's that.
Those are the reasons.
No, and it's true and it's wonderful and I love it and I'm happy. But it's expensive. Like
Yeah,
and like I'm very reasonable. So like which is I'm not. I'm aware. But
that
I
is, yeah.
But I very much am like, listen, nothing's perfect. You move in, there are things that you hope you can get done. There are things that, even though like you would like to get them done, maybe they don't happen. And like part of that is because like when I was a kid, we bought a house knowing that it needed a lot of work and
Mhm.
everything in it was a like, we'll get to it. And then of course we didn't, and the house was in terrible condition, and that's why we left. And like I get it. And we sold it as a fixer-upper property. Like it was never um but I also so I don't want to repeat that, but I'm also very
Sure.
much like I didn't grow up in a show house. I didn't grow up in a house that had a different decorative pillow for every week of the year. Like I
Right.
you live there. You don't like I that just doesn't make sense to me. And Dan's family very much like his mom very much like has themed decorations and is the kind of person who's like, I'm so sorry my house is a mess because one pillow's on the wrong couch. Like,
Yeah.
and I love her so much, but he does not get that, like,
That's not real life.
that's not real life. Like,
Right. Yeah.
the door handle's a little janky. That's not a priority.
No. If no one can break in, it's not a priority.
Right. And I'm like, okay, like there are things like our garage leaks water because of some severe damage that has happened over a series of years.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to
That
fix
has to be handled.
We hired someone for that.
Right.
The recessed light above the bathroom, above the shower in the bathroom is no longer actually recessed because it's not the correct kind of fixture. That is a problem. You can't shower if you are afraid of getting electrocuted. That's valid.
Right.
Like,
Mhm.
I'm not saying there's no work that needs to be done. But every day he's like, and we should fix this, and that's not good. And maybe we could get this, and wants to shop for cupboards and wants to shop for like yard tools and wants to shop for, and I'm like, I have
Pick
to
and
go
choose your
write
battles, Dan.
I'm like, I have 6 papers I have to write. I don't care what kind of rake you want.
Right. Right.
Like, and
Those
I
leaves
know,
can stay there.
and I know that that's not helpful, and I know that it's not his house, it's our house, but he's not in the same phase of his life that I am right now, just in terms of what has to get done.
Yeah.
And it is.
And also, like, if he needs a rake, just go get a rake. You're not going to be upset with whichever one he chooses.
Yeah. Although, no,
Some kitchen
I might.
appliances, potentially. Rakes,
Oh.
I feel like you could let it go forever.
I told him, I told him,
this isn't across the board.
Right. I told him, I was like, I'm torn with rakes because I think that the skinny metal ones actually pick things up that are stuck in the grass better, but then they're not very stable.
Yeah.
So I was like, so I'm not really in love with any kind of rake. That was my opinion. That's all I got. So
right. So just go
fucking
get
go
a
for
rake
it.
and
Yeah.
then
And he was like, what brand of leaf blowers do you like? Do you have a favorite? Bitch, I don't even know what
leaves.
Right. I was like, bitch, I didn't know there was more than one brand of leaf blower.
Right. Does it work? Like, if it works, I want that one.
Yeah. So I'm just like overwhelmed. That's my emotion. That's my life.
Yeah. Same.
But it's okay. I have a house.
You do.
I don't live there.
That's okay.
Well, and also
okay.
he's already changed his license to the new house, like the new address already.
Psychopath. Again.
And then he's like, you haven't. And I was like, correct. No, I haven't.
No, I was thinking about that today because I've been looking at apartments and I was like, it doesn't matter if I move out tomorrow or December or whenever. If I move out before the election, I will be keeping this because I have to vote and I cannot deal with trying to figure out where I'm voting.
Also, he moved around the corner.
Oh, so like nothing really changes.
Like nothing really changes. He's still in the same zip code. He's still in the same village. I'm not.
Right. Yeah. No,
I also, fun fact, have to change my address on my license, my work, like both of my jobs, my car insurance, my credit cards. Oh yeah, and then in 80 days, I have to do it all again to change my name. So the fact that I'm not in a rush to upheave my life shouldn't be that big of a problem.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I can't imagine that I will I probably won't even change my license till after I come to your wedding because I can't deal with the airplanes.
And he was shocked and appalled when he got spam mail at the house.
That is literally the first thing that happens when you change your address.
And I said, your license, your legal address is still your mom's house, isn't it? He said, yeah. I said, I bet you she throws out all your spam mail before you get it so that you don't have to see it. And he said, probably. I said, you are 34 years old.
This is life, bud.
He's like, I don't like that my address is out there. I was like, well, then don't exist. I don't like that. There's no other choices.
Move into a bunker. Those are your options. I don't know what to tell you.
And even that, don't file with the government.
Yeah. You have to, no. No, you're done. You're done. Bless his heart.
So I have just been trying to figure out how anyone made it to adulthood.
Wish I had some answers for you.
You know what you could have for me though?
Uh-huh. Hmm.
Guidance.
Yeah, I was just trying to pick which one.
Ah, lovely.
I think this is the one. It was the last one I saved, and I really like it. So it's the one I'm going with.
Perfect.
Um, Once I learned to like me more than others did, then I didn't have to worry about being the funniest or the most popular or the prettiest. I was the best me, and I only ever tried to be that. Issa Rae.
I love that.
Isn't that one great?
She's great.
Just gets you.
Speaking of great, Stargate
What a time.
SG-1, season 6, episode 22, Full Circle. It was rated 8.7 stars,
That's super high for
which
Stargate.
is the highest of the season.
Yeah.
It came out on March 21st, 2001, or 2003. 2003. We did not jump back in time.
Whatever.
Um, the top book was The Jester by James Patterson and Andrew Gross. And
Jamie's here, back at it again.
weirdly, actually, a lot of this connects to last Thursday's episode because on Thursday, our book was a Jamie Patterson book. The number one song is still in the club, that's fine. But the number one movie is Dreamcatcher, which is based on a Stephen King novel. And it is, in fact, about like a haunted mind palace.
Ooh, I've heard of it, but I don't really know much about it.
Yeah.
So it's one that everyone says I should read, and I just haven't.
Well, I'm very curious and interested in the movie. I don't really know how I'm going to feel about it, but I'm going to read two things that were said about it just to show you how widely confused I am about whether this was a good movie or not.
Okay.
Stephen King personally said that this is at the time at least, was the best adaptation of one of his novels. It was the most true to what he wrote, and it was one of his favorites. Roger Ebert said it was shit and no one should watch it and gave it 1.5 stars.
So do we go with the novel writer or do we go with the major Metacritic?
I'm like, what?
What a wild
Roger Ebert, he basically
is.
was like, it started creatively and ended up being one of the worst movies I've ever seen. And Stephen King was like, somebody finally actually put my book as a movie and meant it. And I was like, what? What?
What a wild no, that's so off the rails. So now I feel like I need to read it and watch it and
right,
I'll let you know.
I don't know how to take this. On this day, speaking of things that nobody really knows how to take,
excellent.
The tobacco company Philip Morris was forced by the Illinois Supreme Court to pay $10.1 billion in fees to consumers for misleading them by advertising their cigarettes as light.
What a time. Oh, speaking of, did you see that currently there's a oh my gosh, class action suit against Breyers because they said that their vanilla ice cream is natural and they put like spikes in it to make it look like natural ice cream, but it turned out to be all like additives and artificial flavor. And now they like priced it up because it sounded more natural. And so now if you bought it in the past like 6 years or something, there's a lawsuit.
I don't know if I have bought it in the last 6 years. I've definitely bought it in my life, but I don't know if I've bought it.
I for sure haven't because I'm not a huge vanilla ice cream fan, but if you have, you should look into it and join the class action or whatever.
Anytime there's a class action lawsuit that I could fall into, I join it.
See, I want to. I just always forget. I've never actually followed through with one.
I actually think I got like $3 from a class action lawsuit on TikTok.
Yeah,
so
people get stuff all the time. My friend got some. He got like $10 one time for one. Yeah. I was like, I should just remember to do it.
There were 18 prisoners that were released from Gitmo that day at Guantanamo Bay. For those of you who don't watch a lot of weird cop shows, they were released. They were 18 prisoners that were held because of the war in Afghanistan, who may or may not have actually deserved to have been in Guantanamo. And they were
Mhm.
released to Kabul, but with no compensation or help. They were just dropped off.
No comment.
Which, to be fair, how many other countries give our prisoners of wars, like American prisoner of wars, how many of them like come back with like a check from Vietnam? No one. So like
We also don't do that to the people in our own country that we release. So like,
right, like I mean, the problem is whether they were supposed to be there or not. That's the question.
right.
Which, to be fair, I tried really hard to figure out, and I could not find any of the articles about the
You know,
original.
they're not
No,
going
no,
to
no,
tell
but
you
like I
that they're
couldn't
not.
even find an article about anybody else
No.
contemplating who they were or why.
Mm,
Like the New York Times article that this fact originally came from is no longer on the internet.
that tracks.
So, um, also, in other war related, but somehow not related, the only four other news articles of that day were all about bombs.
Oh,
And
good. Excellent.
one was about the active war bombing in Iraq from the Middle Eastern wars. And then one was about a car bomb in Israel, which may or may not have had anything to do with the wars. But then also a car bomb in the Philippines and in Colombia, which for sure didn't have anything to do with those wars. But it was like
Interesting.
I was like, this bomb killed 17 people. This bomb killed 10 people. And I was like, did anything happen that day that wasn't just bombs?
No,
No,
obviously not.
obviously not. So it was a day. But then this episode dropped and that was a bomb too. So
Oh man.
I'm unhinged. I apologize. This episode
Dude,
was
same.
directed by Martin Wood, written by Robert C. Cooper, and edited by Rick Martin. Our guest star is a very small part because everyone else was has been in the show before. But it is Sean Amsing, who in fact was actually already in the show, but only in season one, episode one, the original Children of the Gods episode, because it was Sean Amsing played Tobey, who is the Skara's second in command, the guy who was helping fight the
Yeah.
wars. So he was in the other Abydos episodes, or the other
Right.
like fighting on Abydos episodes, but that's it. He is known for Love Guaranteed, Noelle, and Always Be My Maybe.
I love those last two movies. What
Right.
is this person's name?
His name is Sean Sean Amsing, Amsing. But also he is a musician and he uses the name
Mhm.
Kaboom Atomic as his musician name,
Speaking of bombs.
right? And he is in a band called Definitely Not Aliens.
How cute is that? That is so
I'm
precious.
obsessed. I really couldn't
I
find a
love
lot about him, like his personal life or anything, other than like his music. But I was trying to look up Definitely Not Aliens music on Spotify when Spotify was like, "Don't you want to listen to Plain White Tees instead?"
it. They're like, I don't know what you're looking for, but I think
Um,
this is what you meant.
but no, but he does. I mean, Definitely Not Aliens does have a page on Spotify. But also, I really
Sure.
liked that his Definitely Not Aliens is absolutely also called DNA.
Yeah. Twinsies.
So love that. There is one thing of trivia that I want to talk about before the episode. Um, and then we will go way, way, way more into it next week when we talk about the season as a whole. But this episode was 100% written to be the series finale. They wrote it, they got greenlit for the budget for how big it was going to be. They got everything going. We're set on it being the series finale with the hope of a movie afterwards. And then prior to filming, but after being greenlit for the budget, found out that they were going to get another season.
Yeah.
And we're like, so there are a couple things that were like sprinkled into the episode as where the story will go in the future. But the reason it is so final and has very little question mark is because they 100% intended to be done.
Which makes sense. This, and you can definitely tell watching this episode
Yeah.
that they thought. I mean, obviously, like you said, it is full circle, and it starts where we
It
stopped.
starts.
Like it ends
It ends
like
exactly where we started the show, and also it is visually a lot.
yeah.
Also, actually, was not filmed on location. That was in Vancouver. Don't know where they found that, but it was.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we start the episode just like we started the very first episode of the show with Skara running through Abydos. And we find out that Anubis is on his way. And the people of Abydos are getting themselves together to get the women and children to safety and to get men ready to fight. But Daniel's there, and he tells Skara that he won't be alone through any of this. And then we get the credits. And so you're like, it opens
You
with a
come in
punch.
with Skara and Daniel. Like
it opens with a punch.
Yeah.
After the credits, Jack is getting on an elevator when the elevator starts tweaking and gets stuck. And Daniel appears to him and starts panic spewing everything that's happening to Abydos and Anubis coming and how he needs help finding the Eye of Ra, and starts like talking about all of this stuff. And Jack is like so sassy. He's like, I was just thinking about my friend who I haven't talked to in a really long time. And then he just showed up on an elevator.
Here's the thing. If I was Jack at this moment in my life, I would do the exact same thing. I'd be like,
sure.
Are you kidding me? You've seen the crap I've been going through. You know what's going on with everywhere. Last time I saw you, you were just like, I want to keep here while you're being tortured all day. Like, no, we aren't going to just be like, oh my God, the world's ending and I'm going to believe you. No, we're going to have like a real person conversation first, which is how confrontational I'm being lately. So,
right.
You know, it just is what it is.
Jack's like, remember how you abandoned me and our friendship to become a higher being, but you need little old me to help you with your problems?
Mm-hmm.
And Daniel's like, I shouldn't even be here. Like, I literally could get in trouble for just being in this elevator. I'm asking you to protect the people of Abydos. You know how important they are to me. So Jack tells the rest of the team, and if you listened to last week's episode, I got a little salty because, as we mentioned last week, Jonas has thrice this season seen shit that wasn't really there, and everyone immediately thinks he is schizophrenic.
Mm-hmm.
Jack goes on a rant and gives them the details to a very dangerous mission. And everyone's like, how do you know these things? And he goes, oh, well, Daniel told me. No one questions it. Even Jack is concerned that no one is questioning him.
Right.
He's like,
which the only one that makes sense to not question is Teal'c, because he did also just see Daniel.
And Teal'c,
however,
Teal'c's like, oh, Daniel also just appeared to me recently. And Jonas is like, I see shit sometimes too. And Sam is basically like, why didn't Daniel come to me? I miss him too. Like, she straight up looks like she's gonna fucking cry.
Yeah.
And then Hammond's like, if it's good enough for Daniel, I'll say yes. The fuck?
Who are these people? Like,
I can't. It was like, rather than build an awkward plot hole into this, we're just gonna pretend these people give no fucks about anything.
Everyone's just like solid. They're like, for sure. We're not gonna waste time convincing them. We're just gonna have them already believe everything.
It's my favorite episode of the whole show because it doesn't make any sense.
So bonkers. It's oh gosh. Oh,
The
what a
fact
time.
that Hammond's just like, good enough for me. He literally says that's
Never,
good enough
never
for
in a
me.
million years. I know. And like never in a million years is that how Hammond responds to anything, even when he has proof.
It's a fucking
Like,
fever
except
dream.
this one time.
Yeah. Um, so SG-1 goes to Abydos and Scar takes them into Ra's pyramid to find the eye and says like that he and Daniel spend a lot of time down there because apparently while being an ascended person who's not allowed to interfere with people and not hanging out and visiting his friends, he just like sits on Abydos with Scar all the time.
Sure. Yeah, sure. No
Which,
problem there.
to be fair, that's his brother-in-law. So,
Right, like they're family, but also
yeah,
like how do you get to like hang out with him all the time, but you can't like
just show
pop into
Sam that
Earth
you're
every now and
alive
then?
once.
Right, right, right.
So he's like, we spent a lot of time down here and we've like looked for it, but we've never actually been able to find it. Um, and then a ship pops out of hyperspace. And Teal'c and Tobey are setting up guard and they're watching for the eventual uh arrival of the Jaffa. Um, and then we get a scene that only makes sense if you know the show's supposed to be the series finale of Skara and Jack talking about the fact that Skara has met someone and he's going to get married and he asks Jack to be his best man. And then he asks Jack if he's going to bring a date to the wedding.
Yeah, this is very clearly meant to be the finale of the series. Like, oh my
It's
gosh.
just, and Jack's like, well, I don't know. I don't have friends. Sam's gonna come to the wedding, right? And he's like, well, yeah, of course Sam's invited. Are you guys coming together? And Jack's like,
And Sam is just sitting there, like,
and she's like,
dying.
as friends who are going somewhere together. And he's like, well, then absolutely, I'm gonna go talk to Jonas.
It's so funny how awkward he is and how much Sam enjoys his
It's
awkwardness.
so
Like,
funny.
oh my
I
gosh.
and her and Scar are just looking at each other like, what is wrong with him?
Yeah, too many
Um,
things to count.
um, so then Tobey asks Teal'c about Daniel protecting them and whether they're gonna make it out of this or not. And Teal'c very poignantly, like he says, if you're not okay with dying, you shouldn't be here. And he isn't even
Which is fair.
he's not doing it in a like degrading way. He's
Mm-mm.
basically saying like every battle you walk into is the battle you could die in. And at this point, Teal'c has lost so many people. Like, we don't really talk about it. We've glossed over it. We haven't had a Teal'c-centric episode since it happened. But
In
we have to
ages.
remember, that 4 episodes ago, every single free Jaffa, except Teal'c and Braytek, died.
Yeah. Hmm.
And I know we haven't talked about it, and it's a really good thing this episode isn't actually the series finale, because that would be a shit thing to never talk about.
Right.
But Teal'c has lost everything.
Everyone. Hmm.
And he's like, if you are not okay with that, don't show up.
Right, like you're in the wrong spot.
Yeah. But then they get attacked by gliders. So don't really have a chance to think about that question or not.
Surely, yeah, really worry about that.
Yeah. So Jonas starts translating the walls and he just really cannot find anything that talks about the eye or a secret chamber or anything. Teal'c and the soldiers are getting attacked and not getting very far. So we go back and forth between everybody being not able to get what they need. Um, but Jonas still can't find anything, and he's like, I really could use like Dr. Jackson's help. Like, I really don't know. And Jack's like, well, that bitch is here.
Yeah. He's like, look around. He's here somewhere.
And everybody's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And Jack's like, don't you dare. You brought us here. We're doing this. And he's like yelling into the sky. And
To be
Daniel.
fair, again, same. Would be doing the same thing.
Yeah. And then Daniel appears and then he awkwardly says hi to Sam and Jonas because remember,
Mhm.
they haven't seen him since he ascended. Jack's the only one who just continues to fight with him, even though he's not real.
Right. Even though he's not there half the time, you know.
And he's like, remember that line we talked about? You need to cross it. We're only here because of you, and we're not going to die without your help.
Hmm.
But the fighting gets worse. So Jack and Skara go to help Teal, leaving Daniel, Sam, and Jonas to be nerds, is how I wrote it in my notes.
Which is the correct way to say it.
So they find where they potentially think this door is based on the carvings, and there's a picture of the Eye of Ra, and it says that they need light. And so Jonas tries to open the potential secret door, and he's like using he's using a flashlight and a magnifying glass, and Daniel notices that all of Jonas's things are just Daniel's things that he left behind, and Jonas is like, "You don't need them."
Right. You didn't want to tell anybody you were here, so what does it matter?
And then we flash to Jack and Teal'c and trying to get ready to fight, but there is an absolute truckload of Jaffa landing on the planet, which is really going to go well for no one. And then we go back down to the nerd squad, and they're looking at this picture, and Daniel realizes that in the engraving, the sun rays are red. So they try, instead of using a flashlight, to have Sam point her laser from her gun at it, and it opens, and they get into this secret room, and they find a room just full of treasures. The Jaffa make their way to the pyramid. A bunch of fighting occurs, and people on both sides are going down. It is an epic battle scene, and it's a significantly like long battle scene. Like it's not just like a flash. Like there's a lot of battle scenes in this episode, which bulk up the time a little bit, but also like the budget.
Right.
Back in Ra's chamber, Daniel finds a tablet that he confirms that he / all of the ascended beings are what is called the ancients, which we have talked about a little bit before.
Which I am glad, because they thought it was the last episode. I am glad they brought it back to at least like give us something, because I feel like we've like said it a few times.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Well, and the other
like,
thing is, obviously I knew all of this information that we get like
right.
telegraph told in this episode, but I also knew that this episode was going to come and that we were going to Jack level explain what the ancients were. So I have just kind of glossed over the ancients every time we've talked about it. But as I'm guessing you, who are a little bit smarter than they make Jack out to be, figured out, because Dan immediately did. He was watching with me and he freaked out. That there's a tablet that explains who the ancients are, and it discusses a lost city that is extremely valuable / important.
Like the lost city of Atlantis.
Correct. So, the lost city of Atlantis. Dan, who, as we all know, has only watched Atlantis, not SG-1, he's an idiot, was like, oh, is this what Atlantis? And I was like, yes, this is. So this tablet is kind of the thing that like they leave in there. They'll leave in there as an impetus to like continue the story after this. But yes. And so they find the tablet explaining that Atlantis is out there somewhere. And then he says he just needs to go, but they need to protect the tablet, and he disappears.
Typical Daniel.
So while Jack and Teal keep fighting, Sam and Jonas keep looking for the eye, and it goes back and forth between the two scenes. And then they figure out where in this room it is, and Jonas is like very innocently looking for a lever or a button or a code, and Sam just fucking shoots the wall.
She's like, back up. I got this.
And they take the eye and they take the tablet, and they're ready to head out and meet up with everybody else. But Jack and Teal come back inside the pyramid because they could not hold the gate room. They're like, we're done. Anubis dialed the Stargate out so that they can't leave. Everybody's stuck in the pyramid. So Jack does what Jack does, and he straps a block of C4 to the Eye of Ra and is like, go for it. He's like, fucking come at me.
Yep.
And he tells the Jaffa, especially our friend Haktar, who, if you will remember, The last time we saw Hektar, it was when they were pretending to be Jaffa to like fucking find out what Anubis was going on doing, and Hektar was the one who figured that shit out. So he and Jack don't really like each other.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. They're not
Um,
like buddies.
then Skara is very badly hurt, and he needs medical attention, and so that's not going well.
Mm-hmm.
And then Hektar goes to Anubis and tells him about Jack's plan, and Anubis is like, "Tell him to give me the eye, or I destroy the whole planet. Those are your only options." Um, but then, of course, Daniel pops into existence and says, "How about you fucking don't?"
Right.
He's like, "One more person gets hurt on that planet, and I will wipe you from existence." And Anubis shows Daniel why that's not possible.
Oh no.
Now, this is one of the few, like, actually, like, big, wild reveals in this episode.
Yeah.
No, we have never seen Anubis's face.
Yeah.
And that is because Anubis was an ascended being, an ancient, who has now been kicked out of being an ancient, basically. So you learn that there's a way to be demoted. There's a way to no longer be ascended.
He's a fallen angel.
He's a fallen angel, basically. But he's not really a human either, because he's a gold. And so he's like stuck in this weird half spirit, half human like trap. And it was basically the best the ancients could do to banish him.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, he's still hella fucking powerful because he still has access to all of the ancients' knowledge and weapons and all of that. The ancients suck. In case that's not clear from the way Daniel talks about what he can and cannot do as an ancient, while they are, in fact, the most intelligent and powerful beings in ever, sometimes you want to throat punch them all, every single one.
Quite frequently. Mm-hmm.
So Hektar relays the message, and Jack tries to call his bluff. He's like, he won't destroy the planet. It's fine. We're cool. And Jonas is like, I really don't think you can do that. We're gonna die. I know.
Yeah.
But then Scar actually does die. Which was like,
it's so wild. Like a lot of death.
Which Courtney asked me before she watched this episode if it was gonna scar her. And I said, not really.
I had just finished the Hannibal season finale,
which was really bad. And I was like,
and she says, not in the same way.
Yeah. Because unfortunately Scar does die, and that's really tragic. Sure. But he doesn't actually die, because within seconds of him starting to die, you see the glowy little light and he ascends. So like you only have a split second to be upset.
Right.
It does kind of suck that he like is now also ascended, and we just keep losing people to not really lose them or understand what's happening to them. So like it is a little scarring, but not in the same way.
Not in the same way.
So Anubis basically dares Daniel to actually stop him, because Anubis unfortunately was an ancient. He knows basically the it's like the Star Trek
limitations.
Like this, it's like the Star Trek principles. Like you don't watch Star Trek, but basically like in Star Trek, their whole thing is that they are supposed to go and explore and uncover without ever being involved. That never fucking happens. But it's the non-interference. Yeah, it's the non-interference principle. It's like the Time Lords in Doctor Who. You can.
Yes, that I follow.
That makes sense. But it's their whole goal is to observe and protect without ever actually protecting, because you can protect in a different way when it is.
Because you don't change history, you don't change the course.
You can't change history, and you can't interfere with two different sides, because you're above both sides. So there isn't a right or a wrong. It's right. So Anubis is like, but can you? Can you really stop me? Fucking dare you. Bet. But then a bunch of new ships arrive. All of them. Because Daniel is like, I can't stop you, but I can get involved in other ways that I'm not supposed to. And he's like, maybe I won't have to. Maybe I don't. Ha ha ha. I'm so
So
much
Daniel Jackson is
smarter.
exactly the same before he died as he is after he died.
Correct. Correct. Just with more powers to be annoying.
Right.
So then Lord Yu shows up and he's like, every single other system lord is with me now because you tried to go against us and get all these devices and be sneaky. We will give it to us or we will kill you. Um, so then Daniel just keeps playing fucking games with Anubis and he's like, I'm gonna just go tell Lord Yu that you don't even have the eye and that there's no reason for them to not just kill you. And he's like, or we can do it my way, and I can give you the eye, but you have to promise that you will never, ever touch Abydos.
Evidence.
It was an idiot. Um,
What to do?
Jack also playing games, but slightly differently because he knows that Anubis wants the eye in one piece. And
Right.
so he's playing the waiting game to figure out how far he can push it before he does anything because he knows Anubis will not let him destroy it.
Right.
So Daniel comes back and he's like, I'm back. Sorry, I had to go, but Anubis and I made a deal. And Jack's like, you are so dumb, but thank you for Skara.
Right.
Daniel's like, the fuck are you talking about? So he realizes that Oma is there and watching him, and now he's fucked because he's already interfered more than he really should. And he's like, you know what? I don't care. I don't care anymore. I'm gonna do what I gotta do. So he explains that Anubis is an ancient who was banished and is not quite ascended or human. And he explains to Jack that the ancients are actually the original creators of the Stargate. They're the most powerful beings, and that they're not allowed to do anything. And he tells Jack about the deal he made with Anubis and says to give over the eye and they'll all be able to leave. And he's like, but I want you to take the tablet with you back to Earth and find the missing city because that if you find the missing city of the ancients, you will have everything you need to finally truly defeat the Goa'uld. You'll have the technology that they don't have. And when you give the eye to Anubis, let the system lords duke it out. They'll all either kill each other or be so weakened that they will need time. You'll be able to figure this all out. It'll be great.
Yeah.
Basically, the plot of the movie that would have happened if this had been the series finale and had ended with a movie. Daniel just told you the entire plot of the movie.
Sure. Right.
So Jack hands over the Eye of Ra to Hector, and then the Jaffa leave the pyramid. SG-1 follows. Everything looks like it's going well. Hector brings the eye to Anubis, and Anubis immediately powers up his weapon, and an epic space battle ensues. Everybody is fighting. The other system lords retreat, and drunk on his victory, Anubis is like, fuck yeah, also destroy Abydos. Which we all saw coming.
We all knew that was going to happen.
Except apparently Daniel.
Yeah. I didn't even believe when he said it. I was like, yeah, of course.
So Daniel shows up.
The next thing he does.
Yeah. So Daniel shows up and he's like, I fucking told you not to. And Anubis is like, what are you going to do about it? And Daniel's like this. And he starts to use ancient magic powers and power shit up.
What's that joke? He's like, on The Office where he's like, I specifically told you not to cheat on me or something.
I specifically asked you not to cheat on me. Yes, that's exactly that moment. That is literally what just happened. And so then he tries to Dragon Ball Z power up his hands to get ready to Kamehameha Anubis. And Oma just rips him from existence, basically. She's like, fuck no.
Yeah. She's like, we talked about this.
And then and then Hector's like, you're so powerful. And Anubis is like, I didn't do that. Cool though.
He's like, I have no idea what's happening.
He was like, real cool, not me. But this is me. And he blows up the planet. And SG-1 had just gone through the gate when the bomb hits, and so Jack is still in the weird in between in the wormhole, and he basically feels the pyramid exploding. So they get back and close the iris just in time for a massive energy spike to follow. So Jack asks them to redial to see what's going on, and they redial the gate, but Chevron 7 will not lock, meaning the gate is not active.
Right.
So um, they go to their mission brief and they talk about the tablet and what it means. And Jonas says that he will begin the process of attempting to translate it, but what he really needs is Daniel's help because otherwise it's going to take a really, really long time. However, Sam does not think Daniel is alive. She thinks that his fate is pretty rough because he would have never willingly abandoned Abydos. For Abydos to be gone, something must have terrible have happened to Daniel. He would have fought against everything that held him back to save Abydos, which we saw happen. And so then Sam just keeps dialing the gate, and Sergeant Harriman, who doesn't ever get a lot of dialogue, but has a moment where he's just like, "How many more times are we going to do this?" She's like, "Until it works." But it does. It opens.
Yeah, it does eventually work.
Yeah, and it opens, and they go in, and there are no signs that anything bad ever happened. The pyramid is completely intact. The gate is completely intact. The village is completely intact with all of the people running around playing games, including Skara. And they're like, "What happened?"
Which we know is not quite right.
Which they're like, "What the fuck happened?" And Skara basically says that Oma saved all of the people of Abydos. They have all now ascended, and they are basically like a new colony of ancients. But that this is an illusion to say goodbye to SG-1, and that there is nothing on the planet, and that as soon as they go back to Earth, the gate will also disappear, and Abydos is done.
Yeah.
It's gone. And Skara says some real like Oma proverby bullshit. And Jack's like, "That sounds familiar." But that they won't see each other for a really long time, but they will find their way. And then they all walk off into the sunset, and the show ends forever.
And it was kind of a nice, I mean, obviously that's not true, but like it was kind of a nice ending.
Yeah.
Like if it had to end on this season,
Yeah.
I would not have been upset with this like as an ending.
No, it's really a truly beautiful full circle moment. And obviously, like there are things like what actually happened to Daniel, what happened to Teal'c's people,
Sure.
what will translating the tablet find, where are we with all the Goa'uld system lords who lived, who didn't, whatever. Like there are questions. There are
who
definitely
lived, who
things.
died, who lived to tell their story.
Correct. There are questions that are substantial enough to create a new plot line, but it ended very well.
Yeah. I am very surprised. Just saying, like I do love the show, and it's what it is. But so many things I'm like, this isn't. That's not the way to do that. I don't know why you've made that choice, but we keep having episodes, so I'm like, it's fine. We'll just pretend like that doesn't exist. But like, if you're doing it as a series finale, like it has to be worth something. It has to exist. So I was a little nervous.
And I will say, I mean, and we'll talk about this more as we go on, but SG-1 knew when they were ending and were able to end the show. Atlantis knew when they were ending and were able to end the show. Universe did not. So the third series, Universe, they were canceled. So when we get there, that will be the least satisfying ending of the three. Just full disclosure.
But you haven't seen that one, yeah?
I haven't seen that one all the way through, but I do know that much.
Got it.
Yeah. So full disclosure, we'll finally like feel good, and then we'll get through the 47 seasons of the show, and just to have it end.
We'll be on our deathbeds, and we'll just have an unsatisfactory ending for all of it.
Correct.
Us and the show and whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So
I love it.
But no, this is a really good like. I almost wish that the way that it panned out, that this would be where we stopped to do a DNA awards. It's not, but
Yeah,
it's such
I
a good
know.
place. So,
Yeah.
do you have,
Um,
I mean, I'm not going to
I
ask
do.
about
I have a
predictions.
thought.
Okay, I was going to say, I'm not going to ask about predictions because
Yeah,
we can save that for the season wrap up next week and
sure.
just go through everything. But do you have any thoughts before
I
I close?
do. So, about Anubis, when he
Yeah.
went to reveal himself as the like banished ancient,
Yeah.
I was convinced that he was about to tell us that he was Osiris because with the skeleton look, I thought he was going to be like, because Osiris, like the god of death, god of the underworld.
Yeah.
And so I was like, this is where we're going to get Osiris. And we've been talking about when they're going to come back, when it's going to, and I was like, this is going to be it. They've just been masquerading as Anubis this whole
Yeah.
time. We got a similar reveal, but different
Yeah.
person. So,
Yeah.
but I was like sold. That's what was about to happen before they told us otherwise.
Yeah.
So,
Which would have been interesting too,
mhm.
but no, it's
I mean, it would have had the same effect, I feel like, because,
yeah.
banished ancient, god of the underworld. They could go into a team together.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that was my only real thought about this. I mean, I don't know. It's nice to have Daniel back at times, but then it's also kind of like weird to have Daniel back at times. It's like we've kind of formed this new thing, and now you're a new thing. Like
Yeah.
the vibes are different. I don't, they're not quite the same as they were before. And every time you bring Daniel back, we get less Jonas, which makes sense, but is kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
Um,
To be fair, there
so
was really a lot of less everybody in this episode.
yeah, there
Like
was. Yeah.
like it was very much Daniel and Jack, and
Hmm.
that's kind of it. Like Jonas
Right.
and Sam and Teal'c all had parts to play and all had moments, but it really wasn't. It was really truly wasn't even it was really just Daniel. Like this was a
Yeah.
Daniel episode.
Yeah. Which
Which
makes sense
it makes
because
sense
they,
when you think about it because when you think about it, when you think about coming full circle and what this show was, when you go
it
back to
was
the plot of the
Daniel and
movie, yeah.
Jack.
Well, and when you go back to the plot of the movie, even like Daniel's why all of this happened. Daniel's why we have a show. Daniel is the character that is the through line. So that's why him being the character that leaves is also the weirdest
Yeah.
feeling because he is so central to the plot, which you almost forget until you get to this episode
Yeah.
and go,
Because
oh,
you bring us back to Abydos and it's like, oh, this is where it happened. I mean, we
this
started
is,
at Abydos.
yeah,
He married in, this is his family. Like, and this
yeah,
wouldn't, Stargate never would have happened without this being the,
yeah,
impetus. So, like, yeah, it is.
yeah. Well, who do you want to punch? Because we could
Hawk,
talk about this
Hawk
forever.
Tar,
Hector. I was like,
Hawk
we could
Tar
talk
for
about this
17
forever, but
times.
that's
Yeah,
what
for
next
sure.
week's for.
Right.
17 times Hector. Okay. I'm gonna pick Anubis.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably the better choice. I just got so annoyed with Hawk
Oh,
Tar that I was
Hector's
like,
terrible.
God, just cut his arm
Terrible.
off or
I
something.
mean, to
Like,
be fair, I almost want to punch like Oma more than Anubis for like not letting Daniel destroy Anubis,
I
but
mean, but there's like a whole
that's like
thing with
her thing. Yeah,
fate.
I
Like, you
know, I
can't like,
know.
and she knows, and that's why she's the all powerful and not us. Like, because we would not make that decision. We would be
No,
like, protect Abydos at all costs, kill this guy. And she's
right.
like, that's not how the life works. You gotta like let it happen, even when it
Yeah,
sucks. So, and she
yeah,
still did in the end protect them. I mean, they ascended. She made them their own like
yeah,
still group of people. So like
yeah.
everyone came out fine.
No.
But yeah,
So, who is your MVP?
gosh, I mean, really like a lot of things a lot of people did.
Yeah,
Um, I think I'm gonna have to go with Daniel though. I mean,
that's fair.
he did his best to protect Abydos. We got our overly emotional Daniel back, who does everything
Yeah,
based on his feelings, not on common sense or logic. Um, and he messed up a lot of things like he does, but it's Daniel.
yeah.
So,
I am going to go with Skara.
yeah.
Um, yeah, because he, I mean, it's the end of a chapter. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, you were probably smart enough to figure out that they wouldn't have done all of this just for us to go back to Abydos. Like,
for sure.
we will never
Yeah,
see him again.
No, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
I was like,
that's very clear.
yeah. And it's,
Yeah.
yeah. And because he
And
made
it's
Jack feel
nice.
really awkward about bringing Sam as his date to his wedding.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, with that, next week we will be discussing all of season 6 of Stargate. But first, on Thursday, we will be discussing all of season 2 of Hannibal. We're on a celebration wrap
We
up
just got some
stage.
wrap ups coming your way.
Yeah, so if you have any thoughts, theories, feedback, things you want us to include in those wrap ups, you can email us at definitealiens@gmail.com or follow
Please
us.
do not email us about the Hannibal wrap up because I am recording that in 10 minutes. So we will
To
not be able to
be
reply anything.
to be fair, we'll be recording the Stargate wrap up before this episode goes out either.
Oh, sure.
Because we're on
Email
it.
us whatever you'd like, and we will
Whatever you
absolutely
want.
reply it to everything.
Everything. Great. Yeah, you can do that at deafandaliens@gmail.com or on any of the social media at Death and Aliens. You can follow me everywhere at EMKAY_superstar.
And you can find me at CE Cloud 13.
And we will see you later. Bye.
Bye.